what's up YouTube? This is Abe from Abe's Exotic Reptiles, and I hope you're all doing well. Today is Super Bowl Sunday, and unfortunately the Bears are not in a big game, but I got to represent. Maybe next year, hopefully, if we get rid of Mitch Trubisky, get a quarterback. Anyway, following up on my last video, I want to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about my room, about my setup, about my racks, humidity, temperature, how I kind of control everything, and I'm looking forward to showing you. Let's do it. So getting into the details of my room, I am in a bedroom here. It is a 12 by 13 spare bedroom on the second floor of my house. It's carpeted floors and not a ton of storage, no sink, no running water, but you know what, I make it work. Okay, so now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the racks that I use in here. I use a combination of ARS, Freedom Breeder, and Sea Serpents. The one right behind me here, this is a ARS 5020. 20 slots. I have this thing full. It's basically for the sub-adult females as well as the males that I'm raising up. I like this rack a lot. I bought the 8-inch heat tape upgrade, which I wish I would not have done. It's overkill. I don't really need it. The 5-inch heat tape would have been totally adequate. So for those of you who are wondering if you need the 8-inch heat tape on the 50 series tubs, I don't think you do. The tub's not deep enough to provide enough gradient for the snake to move back and forth with that 8-inch heat tape. So I would prefer, if I did it again, I'd go with the 5-inch heat tape for sure. So the other rack systems that I have are Freedom Breeder. I love this rack. It is amazing. The first and most important thing, of course, is this slide out tray. This is my workbench for this whole room. It is the only thing that kind of keeps my room functional, quite honestly. This is the main reason I love Freedom Breeder so much. This shelf system and just the smoothness of all the tubs. They're super smooth, everything slides cleanly, and they're super easy to put together and take apart. They're easy to clean. I got the 25% ventilation, which I have covered up. I cover up all the ventilation in the winter just to trap in as much humidity as I can. Once the spring hits, I'll pull off all this plastic that I put over the ventilation just to let everything breathe a little bit more. I also have a Freedom Breeder 70 series rack here. This is for my big girls that can't fit in the 40 series tub. I have additional layers down in the basement that I don't have because I don't have snakes to put in them right now. So basically I took off the top levels that I'm not using just to make more room for my Sea Serpents racks. And we'll get into a little bit about that right now. So as far as my Sea Serpents racks, I love them. I use them for my new babies that I buy, basically, and for my hatchlings that I produce. V18 rack from Sea Serpents. This thing is perfect for any animal up to about 400 or 500 grams. I love it. I think it is the perfect size. I keep them generally on paper until I move them over into one of the bigger racks. At that point, they're going to go on coconut. Outside of this room, I keep my incubator as well as a couple quarantine racks. I have another Sea Serpents V18 rack for babies that I bring in that don't come into the room. I always quarantine for at least 6 weeks. So they're going to go into a V18 rack when I bring them in, or they're going to go into a 40 series Freedom Breeder rack that I also have downstairs. I keep it on the other end of the house as far as I can away from this room. I don't want any cross-contamination possibly happening. So when those new animals come into me, they get quarantined for 6 to 8 weeks. Then they'll make their way into this room and into the rotation of these racks. So this is how I control the temperature in my room. This is a Herbstat HP. This guy's rated to 1500 watts and is basically designed to work with oil heaters or other large heaters just in a straight on and off fashion. The thing works perfectly, keeps my room at 80 degrees all year, and I don't have to think about it. It's set it and forget it. So this here is the oil heater that the Herbstat HP is connected to. This is a 1500 watt oil heater, just kind of standard from Target or Walmart if I'm not mistaken. And basically, as you can see on the front here, it's got two switches. One is a 600 watt switch, one is a 900 watt switch. I only have to turn on the 600 watt switch. That's enough to keep this room heated, keep it around 80 degrees all day long, and doesn't have this oil heater working extra hard. So it's very efficient, works very well. Okay, to control my humidity, I just used a little 1 gallon humidifier, and I attach it to a Herbstat. This is the optional Herbstat humidification sensor. I basically have the Herbstat set to humidifier, and it turns on and off as needed to keep this room right around 50%. You know, I do have carpeting in here on the floor. It absorbs a lot of the moisture, but this seems to be a great solution that kind of helps keep things up during the winter months. And here's the trick that people kind of wonder about is the humidifier itself. It needs to be analog. It has to have an on and off switch. Basically, it can't have an on and off button, because as long as you can have this thing in the always on position, your thermostat can turn on and off as needed. If you have a button that needs to be pushed by somebody, this thing's never going to turn on. So the trick is to get an analog humidifier, hook it up to a Herbstat or something else on and off, and then you are in business. Okay, another very important function of this room is this device right here. This is an activated carbon scrubber. Some of you might recognize this thing from other applications that it's used in. They are used in greenhouses, I guess we'll say, as well as some other growing operations. But why they are so beneficial is the smell. This thing keeps the smell in this room just perfect. You would not even know there's anything in here. You can't smell the Reptichip, you can't smell the snakes, you can't smell anything because of this guy. I have it turned off for the sake of this video because it's very loud, but what this consists of is basically the carbon down on the bottom with a filter sleeve around it to trap the dust. The middle section is the fan itself. That is a 6-inch hyper fan, and up top you have a muffler to control the sound. This thing is very loud without the muffler, and for 50 bucks the muffler makes all the difference in the world. But for about $250 you can get this whole setup, which really helps the room smell clean, stay fresh, and I love it. It's well worth the money. And of course I've got the ceiling fan in here just to circulate air, keep everything moving in here, keep everything fresh. Alright, another thing I want to mention to you guys that I did in here was this flooring. So I have a carpeted bedroom in here. Like I had mentioned earlier, it sucks up all the moisture. It's kind of rough as far as keeping humidity up. But what I did so I could get behind these racks and kind of get around is I just stained some pieces of oak. 4x8 sheets, I kind of cut them down, stained them, sealed them with polyurethane, and they allow me to kind of get back behind these racks when I need to, make adjustments, and let these wheels kind of freely roll around. What I also have here is this extra piece of carpeting that you can see. This is just a scrap piece of carpeting, so my normal carpeting in this bedroom doesn't get ruined. If you have not seen one of these before, this is a sensor push wireless gateway. I feel like if you keep reptiles, you need a system like this. This helps monitor the temperature and the humidity in the room. You buy sensors that look like this. You can place them wherever you need to. I put a couple in my incubator. I put one in this room to monitor the ambient temperature. I put some in some extra slots in my racks. And if anything goes wrong, this thing will basically send a notification to your phone telling you exactly what's wrong, and you're aware of the situation. It's peace of mind and well worth the money. The gateway itself is about $99 if I remember right, and each of the sensors is 49 bucks. And so far so good. I have not had any of the equipment break down on me. It's been perfect. Okay, one more thing I wanted to kind of describe in my room here is the Reptile scan software that I use. Reptile scan basically lets you create a barcode for all your animals. You can scan that barcode when they shed, when they eat, when they ovulate. You can track poops if you want. I don't, but you have the ability to do that. It's great software. I think it's 25 bucks. And for under 50 animals like I have, I think it works really well. If you get more than 50 animals, I think it would become cumbersome. But for record keeping, tracking everything, great stuff. I suggest it. So that's it. I hope you guys learned a little bit about me, a little bit about my setup, maybe picked up some tips or tricks that you guys could utilize at your facility or your bedroom. Thanks again for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe. I'll be sure to put links of all the products that I mentioned down in the description below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.